In the darkest corner of the galaxy, beyond the edge of known space, there was a planet that every alien race feared. Its name was Haros 9, and its reputation was worse than any battlefield or black hole. For centuries, the galaxy's strongest empires had sent explorers, researchers, and even armies to study or conquer this strange world, but none of them returned. What little data came back was filled with screams, static, or corrupted images of twisted landscapes and broken ships. To every species that ruled the stars, Haros 9 became a symbol of death, a mystery too dangerous to solve. Over time, they gave up and placed massive warning beacons around the planet. They called it cursed, haunted, or worse, alive. No one dared land again. The galaxy moved on. But then, humanity arrived. Humans were new to the galactic scene. They weren't the strongest, the smartest, or the oldest species, but they were different. Where others saw danger, they saw a challenge. Where others gave up, they became curious. When the United Earth Space Command learned about Haros 9, they didn't ignore the warnings. Instead, they studied them. Captain Ilara Voss was chosen to lead the expedition, a calm and focused leader known for surviving impossible missions. Her ship, the Argonaut, was small but advanced, with a brave crew of scientists, soldiers, and explorers. They read every alien report, decoded the ancient warnings, and understood the risks. But they all agreed on one thing. They had to see it for themselves. As the Argonaut entered the system, the crew fell silent. The planet was beautiful. From orbit, Haros 9 looked calm. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. There were no signs of storms or war, but the warning beacons were still active, flashing red and sending messages in hundreds of languages. Do not land. This world cannot be tamed. The crew listened carefully, but no one turned back. For them, the warnings only made it more fascinating. The ship descended through the atmosphere slowly, sensors scanning every inch. Everything was stable. Radiation was normal. Gravity was safe. There was no sign of any living thing. No birds, no animals, not even insects. It was too quiet. The landing site was an open valley near a set of tall black stone towers that rose from the jungle like fingers of a buried giant. These ruins didn't match any alien architecture known to the galaxy. They were old, far older than any civilization. The walls were smooth, unmarked by age, and pulsed softly with a blue light. The crew set up camp, keeping their weapons ready and sensors running. Some felt nervous. Others were excited. Ilara reminded them to stay sharp and stay together. As night fell, the jungle around them remained still. There were no sounds, not even wind. It felt like the planet was holding its breath. The next day, they explored the ruins. Inside, they found strange symbols carved into the walls, circles within circles, lines like circuitry, and images of star systems that didn't exist on any map. One chamber was filled with skeletons, twisted remains of different alien species. Some wore armor. Others looked like scientists. All were clearly ancient, and none had died peacefully. One body still clutched a broken tablet that played a garbled recording. It watches, it remembers, don't wake it. The message ended in static. The crew grew tense, but Ilara ordered them to continue. She believed there was a pattern, a message hidden in the chaos. She was right. Deeper in the structure, they found something unexpected, a machine still active. It floated in the center of a circular room, surrounded by crystals that glowed with soft light. The machine scanned them silently and then spoke, not in words, but in images. The crew saw flashes of the past, alien ships landing, exploring, dying. They saw strange creatures made of smoke and light, walking through fire as if it were air. Then the visions changed. They saw humans, soldiers fighting, scientists building, explorers staring up at the stars. But none of these had ever been here before. The crew realized something chilling. The planet already knew what humans were. It had somehow predicted their arrival. Back at the ship, the data analysts confirmed that the planet's magnetic field was unnatural. It behaved like a brain, recording everything that happened on its surface. The planet was alive, not in a biological sense, but in a technological one. It had memory, logic, and perhaps even purpose. Every species that had come before had been tested and judged. All had failed, but for some unknown reason, it had not attacked the humans. It had let them land, explore, and learn. Was it curious, or was it waiting? That night, one of the crew, a young linguist named Jan, had a strange dream. In it, he walked through the ruins, guided by a glowing figure. It spoke no words, but he understood everything. The planet was not a trap. It was a vault, a test, a guardian of something ancient and powerful. And it was searching, not for knowledge, but for a successor. When Jan woke up, he ran to Ilara and told her everything. She listened carefully, then gave the order. They were going deeper. They had to find the heart of this world. They had to know why humans were allowed and when all others were not. As the crew prepared for the next phase, satellites orbiting the planet sent live feeds to distant alien systems. Hundreds of civilizations watched in silence, stunned that the humans had not yet been destroyed. Fear spread across the stars. For the first time, someone was not fleeing the forbidden planet. They were exploring it. And worse, the planet was letting them. Something had changed on HFY 9. The stars above seemed to pulse brighter. The ruins hummed with new energy. The ground beneath the Argonaut trembled softly, as if the world itself was waking up. And as the humans marched forward into the shadows of an ancient past, they didn't know what waited ahead. But they weren't afraid, because they were human. And humans never run from the unknown. They run toward it. The deeper they went into the forbidden planet, the stranger everything became. What had started as a scientific mission slowly turned into something else, something they could not fully explain. The jungle around them never moved, not a leaf, not a sound, as though time had stopped. Even the wind refused to blow. The only movement came from their own footsteps and the occasional flicker of light from the ruins that pulsed like a heartbeat. Captain Ilara Voss led her crew toward the dark ridge that the local scanners had marked as a potential structure buried beneath the earth. Unlike the other ruins, this one wasn't visible from orbit, as though the planet had hidden it on purpose. As they reached the rocky slope, a loud cracking noise came from under their boots. The ground split open without warning, revealing a hidden tunnel that led down into the darkness. It was not a cave formed by nature. It was smooth, metallic, and shaped with perfect angles. The air that rushed out was colder than ice and carried a scent none of them recognized. Not decay, not dust, something older, something that didn't belong in any world they knew. Without wasting time, Ilara gave the order to proceed with caution. They climbed down the tunnel slowly, lights flashing against the walls that reflected their movements like a mirror. Symbols appeared on the walls again, but this time they shifted as the crew passed by, almost reacting to their presence. Jan, the young linguist, kept recording every symbol, feeling like the planet was trying to talk to them in a language that wasn't made of words. The tunnel stretched deep, far deeper than expected, twisting and curving like the inside of a massive machine. As they moved forward, their communication systems began to flicker, and their signals to the orbiting Argonauts started cutting off, one by one. The outside world was disappearing behind them. They had no choice now but to go forward. Just when some of the crew began to wonder if they were walking into a trap, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber that stole their breath away. It was a city beneath the surface, untouched by time. Massive towers of dark crystal rose into the distance, surrounded by rivers of glowing blue liquid that pulsed like veins. Strange machines floated silently in the air, orbiting broken statues of unknown gods or rulers, their faces worn away by time or something more deliberate. There were no signs of life, no bodies, no bones, Yet the city felt alive, like it had only been waiting for someone to arrive. The humans spread out carefully, scanning the area, whispering through their comms, trying not to disturb anything. Ilara noticed a strange platform in the center of the city, shaped like a circle with steps leading to a black sphere floating above it. As she approached, the sphere began to shift, forming images of Earth, of stars, of ancient ships flying into the void. Then it showed destruction, fleets burning, planets dying, and a darkness spreading through the galaxy like a living shadow. The vision stopped suddenly, and the sphere began spinning faster, glowing brighter, as if something had been activated. Back on the surface, the jungle began to change. Trees bent unnaturally, their leaves turning black. Cracks formed in the ground, and strange shapes started moving under the soil like something waking from a long sleep. The Argonaut, still parked at the landing site, detected massive energy spikes coming from the ruins below. The ship's AI tried to contact Ilara, but there was no reply. Meanwhile, underground, Jan screamed and fell to his knees as a new vision entered his mind. Not from the sphere, but from the planet itself. He saw what had happened long ago. A race far older than any known species had created the city beneath HFY 9, not to live in, but to trap something, a creature or force, not made of matter but of thought. It fed on fear, chaos, and war. Every alien that had come to the planet had awakened it, and one by one they were consumed, their knowledge absorbed, their bodies destroyed. But when the humans arrived, it didn't strike immediately. It waited. It studied, because humans were not like the others. They didn't just fear the unknown. They chased it, and that made them dangerous. Jan warned the crew as fast as he could, telling them the planet was watching, thinking, choosing. Ilara realized they had passed the point of no return. Whatever test this world had prepared, they were now fully inside it. As the ground shook and towers began to crack, the black sphere opened, revealing a glowing core that pulsed with every heartbeat in the room. One of the scientists reached out without thinking and touched it. In a blink, his body froze, lifted into the air, then exploded into light. His voice echoed through the chamber in every direction, speaking in a dozen different languages at once, repeating one word: witness. The city lit up. Doors opened across the structures. Machines came to life. The test had begun. Suddenly, walls closed behind them, trapping the humans inside. Beams of light separated them into groups and dragged them into different parts of the city. Ilara fought the force, but it was impossible. She was thrown into a chamber where the air grew heavier and the light dimmer. A screen appeared in front of her, showing footage of her past, her childhood, her training, her moments of doubt, her choices during war. The planet was searching her memories, judging her worth. Others faced similar trials. One was shown images of alternate futures, one where Earth was destroyed, another where humans ruled cruelly over weaker species. The city wasn't just testing their minds. It was testing their morals, their limits, their potential. Hours passed like minutes. Some failed the test. Those who gave in to fear vanished without a trace, their names erased from the ship's logs as though they had never existed. But others held strong, pushed forward, and unlocked hidden paths inside the ruins. Ilara, using her instincts and calm focus, passed each trial one by one. She didn't fight the test. She understood it. She accepted the pain of her past, the weight of her choices, and the responsibility of her future. The city responded. The darkness inside the ruins began to shrink, retreating like a beast that had been recognized by its equal. Slowly, the humans were brought back together in the heart of the underground city, where the glowing core waited. It had changed. It was now shaped like a star, shining softly, no longer dangerous. The planet had made its decision. Humanity had not just survived the test, it had earned something. The meaning wasn't fully clear, but Ilara felt it deep inside her mind. HFY 9 had seen the worst of other species, but in humans, it saw something it respected: Not perfection, not peace, but potential. As they made their way back to the surface, the jungle had returned to stillness. The cracks had vanished. The sky was calm. The Argonaut reconnected to their suits, and the ship's AI confirmed. The planet's energy levels had stabilized. But more than that, something had changed across the stars. The ancient warning beacons were no longer active. Instead, they now transmitted a single signal in every known language. Access granted. Chosen confirmed. Await the message. And far beyond the edge of the galaxy, ancient machines long thought dead began to stir. When the crew of the human exploration ship Odysseus arrived in orbit around planet Varellon 6, they had no idea they were being observed even before their ship had dropped out of warp. The world below appeared untouched. Blue oceans, green continents, thin clouds drifting across the surface, and yet no signs of cities, machines, or intelligent life could be found. Everything looked perfect, almost too perfect. Captain Ren Halden approved a descent mission, sending a team of 6 to land near a flat valley surrounded by tall mountains and shimmering lakes. From the moment their boots touched the soil, they felt something odd. An invisible pressure in the air, like they were being studied. No animals roamed. No birds sang. The wind moved, but it carried no scent. And the sky, though blue, felt like it was hiding something just beyond sight. The ground beneath their feet was soft, like velvet, and the trees grew in exact patterns, too exact to be natural. As the team set up their camp and began collecting samples, none of them noticed the subtle shift in their surroundings, the way shadows stretched toward them, the way leaves on nearby plants always turned to face them. It was as if the world itself was watching their every move. On the second day, strange things began to happen. The camp's equipment malfunctioned without reason. Batteries drained instantly. Tools stopped working, and their communication link with the orbiting Odysseus became fuzzy. Engineer Silva tried to fix the problem, but the wires were intact, the systems showed no errors, and yet nothing responded. That night, Lieutenant Darren claimed he saw lights in the trees, small flickers of movement that vanished when approached. The others thought it was stress or imagination, until they, too, began noticing odd flashes just outside their vision. Something was there, always at the edge, always just watching. The crew set up motion sensors, but they failed by morning. When they woke, they found strange symbols drawn into the soil around their tents. Perfect circles and lines etched deep, not by hand, but by something more precise. Ren didn't believe in ghosts or alien magic, but he couldn't deny the feeling growing inside him. This planet was not just alive, it was aware. It was examining them, waiting, learning. The way a predator studies prey or a judge weighs a sentence. Instead of retreating, Ren made a bold choice. He ordered the crew to move deeper into the valley, toward a strange hill that appeared to glow faintly during the night. As they hiked, the terrain changed. Trees began to resemble spires, plants responded to touch, and the air grew denser, thicker with silence. Hours passed in a haze, and when they finally reached the hilltop, they found something that stopped them all in their tracks. A giant eye was carved into the stone, not just as art, but with layers of detail that seemed to shimmer and blink. The stone pulsed gently, like a living heartbeat. As they stood frozen, the ground opened beneath them. Not like an earthquake, but like a trapdoor perfectly timed. They were dropped into darkness and caught by soft material, falling into a chamber that wasn't natural. It was smooth, metallic, yet warm. Lights lit up along the walls without any power source, and the crew realized they had entered. The crew didn't speak, too stunned by the truth. Every major event in human history was here, recorded in perfect detail. Even private moments, moments that should have been impossible to observe, were stored and displayed. It was clear now. Varellon 6 was not a normal planet. It was a recorder, a witness, a guardian of some kind. But the question was why. As they moved through the halls, more images played. Other alien species, now extinct, shone in their final moments. Civilizations falling into ruin, great empires crumbling, each one observed by the same unseen force. And then came the warning. A final chamber opened, showing a star map marked with dozens of red crosses. Each marked a world destroyed. The pattern was chilling. Every species that had been observed by Virulence 6 had vanished shortly after contact. Not by war or disease, but by something else, something that erased them completely. As the crew stared in horror, the eye symbol appeared again, this time glowing above them in red. And a voice, not through sound, but through thought, entered their minds. You are being measured. You are being judged. This is not the first test. Others have failed. What will you choose? The crew felt split, as if their memories, emotions, and fears were being pulled apart and laid bare. Each person saw a different vision. Ren saw Earth engulfed in flames, not by alien attack, but by human hands, war, greed, corruption. Silva saw machines replacing people, society collapsing under its own weight. Darren saw a peaceful Earth destroyed because humanity refused to evolve. The voice continued, emotionless but firm. You create beauty and destroy it. You seek knowledge, then use it for war. We have watched. We have waited. Now you must show what you are. The room darkened. A platform rose from the ground, glowing with 7 paths leading into black tunnels, one for each crew member. The message was clear. Each would face their own trial, alone. Ren took the first step, disappearing into the darkness, the rest following in silence. What happened inside those tunnels was never fully shared, not even among themselves. Some faced visions of their worst failures. Others were forced to choose between 2 impossible futures. Each trial was different, but the purpose was the same, to reveal the truth inside their hearts. When they emerged, hours or days later, the chamber had changed. The red eye was gone. In its place, a single word glowed in white light. Observed. The ship's systems blinked back to life. The Odysseus reconnected. The underground structure began to close slowly behind them. As the crew returned to the surface, they noticed the world had changed again. It was warmer, calmer. Birds now flew overhead. Animals roamed in the distance. Life had returned. It was as if the planet had allowed it, now satisfied. Back in orbit, the crew reviewed the data. Most of it was gone, wiped clean by an unknown process. Only one file remained, burned into their system. A single image of the eye and a message encoded in hundreds of languages. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are still being watched. Captain Ren sat in silence, staring at the planet below. Virulence 6 had not given them answers. It had only asked questions. But one thing was certain. Whatever was watching had the power to decide the fate of entire species. And now, it had chosen to let humanity go. For now. As the Odysseus left the orbit, the eye carved in the planet's surface closed slowly, disappearing beneath clouds. But deep within its core, the world continued to watch, waiting for the day it might be needed again. The day the message arrived, Earth was silent. Every satellite caught it. Every observatory confirmed it. It was a beacon, not random, not natural. It pulsed with exact intervals, carrying a language unknown, but clearly intelligent. It came from a planet outside the known star systems, in a sector thought to be empty. The United Earth Council gathered quickly. Experts worked day and night, and within weeks, they decoded it. One sentence repeated over and over again in hundreds of patterns. One must come. One must stand. The trial begins. No threats, no demands, just a strange call. At first, the world was divided. Was it a trap, a test, or something more important than anything mankind had ever known? After long debate, Earth sent a mission, not of war, but of hope. A single human was selected, Commander Jalen Merrick, known for his leadership, intelligence, and calm under pressure. He was the chosen, and with the weight of the entire species on his shoulders, he stepped into the experimental warp shuttle and disappeared into the stars, guided only by the signal. When he arrived, the planet was unlike anything in human experience. It floated in darkness, without a sun, yet it glowed faintly from within, like it had a life force of its own. There were no cities, no ships, no signs of civilization, only a vast plain of black crystal that seemed to stretch forever. As Jalen stepped out, the shuttle vanished. No smoke, no sound, just gone. He was alone, truly alone. The ground responded to his steps, lighting up with a faint silver glow, guiding him forward. He followed it, feeling no fear, only a heavy silence pressing against his mind. Then, without warning, a voice entered his thoughts. It didn't speak with sound. It was emotion, memory, and clarity all at once. You are the chosen. You carry the weight of your kind. You will be tested. The ground opened ahead, revealing a large hall made of shifting stone and energy. Inside, figures appeared. Not machines, not living beings, but something in between, shaped like tall, cloaked shadows with glowing eyes. They didn't speak, yet Jalen understood them. One stepped forward and raised its hand. The trial of the chosen begins now. The room changed instantly. Jalen was no longer in a hall but on Earth. His Earth, only different. The sky was blood red, buildings broken, people screaming. He saw his city in flames. He ran toward the chaos, but his legs felt heavy, slow. A child cried out, trapped under rubble. He rushed forward, lifting the weight, but as he did, the child turned into a soldier, then into an enemy, then into a mirror of himself. The scene dissolved. Another appeared. He was now in a lab, standing before a screen showing two planets, one Earth, the other an alien world, both infected by a deadly virus. He had a choice. Cure one, let the other fall. No cure existed for both. His heart pounded, but he chose Earth. The screen blinked, and again the scene melted away. Next, he was on a battlefield, unarmed, facing a creature twice his size. The voice returned. Strength is not muscle. Show us what strength truly is. Jalen dropped to one knee, refusing to fight, and instead spoke, offering peace. The creature hesitated, then faded. The world around him twisted again. Trial after trial, he was pushed, pulled, tested beyond anything physical. He faced his fears, his regrets, his ambitions. At times he screamed, at times he wept, but he never gave in to hate. He remembered who he was, and why he came. He was not there to prove power. He was there to prove worth. After what felt like days, he returned to the black plain, exhausted, but changed. The figures returned, circling him now. The air vibrated with strange energy. One by one, they stepped forward and placed their hands near his head, not touching, but reaching into his thoughts. Then they spoke again, not as one, but many. We have watched your kind. Many speak of greatness, few live it. You are imperfect, but your will is strong. You make mistakes, yet you seek to fix them. You feel fear, but still move forward. These are signs of a worthy race, but only one may not decide for many. Jalen looked up, confused, but then the plane changed once again. Around him, he saw projections of humans, scientists, soldiers, artists, children, all frozen in motion like memories. The trial was not only for him, it was for humanity itself, through him. The Watchers had judged before, other species, other chosen ones. Some had passed, most had failed. Those who failed were not punished with war, but with silence, their signals ignored, their worlds left in isolation. But for those who passed, a path opened. You have spoken for your kind, and your voice has not been hollow. The Watchers said, we will now open the gate. A massive structure rose from the ground behind them, forming a spiral staircase of glowing light that stretched into the sky. Beyond this lies knowledge, allies and truths not yet known to your people. But it comes with responsibility. You may return and open the gate for your world, or you may leave it closed and let them grow on their own. Jalen stood quietly, breathing hard, mind racing. The weight of the choice wasn't just on him now. It was on every human who would come after. Slowly, he nodded. We are ready. Not perfect, but ready to learn, ready to try. The watchers bowed as one, and the light from the gate pulsed brighter. Jalen was lifted from the ground, wrapped in energy, and in a flash, he was back in the shuttle, now orbiting Earth. Time had not passed at all. The planet below looked the same, but Jalen knew everything had changed. In the ship's systems, new data had appeared. Maps, technologies, star charts, and one message encoded in Earth's language. The trial was passed. The gate stands open. Choose wisely. As he descended toward the surface, Jalen looked at his world not as it was, but as it could be. The trial was over. But the true test had just begun. When the explorers from Earth landed on planet Varex 7, they didn't expect silence. It was once the center of the greatest empire in the galaxy. The Chiral Dominion, feared by all, powerful beyond imagination, and suddenly gone without a trace 5,000 years ago. The humans, driven by curiosity and the promise of lost technology, sent their best team. Historians, soldiers, engineers, and diplomats. The surface of Varex 7 was strange. Giant buildings half buried under silver dust, towers made of a metal that didn't rust, roads glowing faintly even after centuries, and symbols etched into the ground that pulsed softly when someone walked nearby. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. No one lived there now, but it didn't feel empty. It felt watched. Captain Alina Royce, the mission leader, kept her team alert. They were not the first to search for the lost empire. Dozens of species had tried, but none returned with more than confusion. As the team set up camp near a massive doorway shaped like a serpent coiled around a sun, strange things began to happen. Devices failed for no reason, their food supplies spoiled overnight, and people started hearing whispers in a language no one spoke but somehow understood. The engineers dismissed it as stress and malfunction, but Alina knew better. Something was still here, something ancient that never truly died. On the fourth night, the ground shook, not like an earthquake, but like something large and slow moving beneath the surface. When the team ran out to check, they saw lights in the distant ruins flickering on for the first time in thousands of years. The doorway pulsed, its center becoming a smooth black mirror. Alina stepped closer and saw not her reflection, but another version of herself, older, scared, wearing armor from a forgotten war. Then it vanished. The scientists wanted to leave, but the historians begged to stay. They believed they were close to discovering the heart of the Chiral legacy. Against her instinct, Alina agreed to continue. They entered the ruins, and what they found changed everything humanity believed about its place in the galaxy. Inside was a city untouched by time, machines still running, gardens that watered themselves, air clean and warm. Holograms flickered to life, showing moments from the past. They watched as the Chiral rose from a single planet to conquer thousands, not through cruelty, but by offering others a chance to join something greater. For 1,000 years, peace and knowledge spread like fire. But then came the collapse. One moment, their empire stood strong. The next, every world went dark. The final hologram showed a message. To those who find this, know that we did not fall to war, or time, or disease. We fell to a truth we could not unsee. If you step further, you must carry what we could not. The words shook them. What truth, what burden could destroy an empire like this? Yet curiosity drove them on. Deep in the city's center, they found a sealed chamber guarded by what looked like statues. But as soon as the door opened, the statues moved, not to attack, but to speak. They called themselves remnants, not alive, not dead, bound to the last will of the Chiral. They studied the humans, walked around them, asked them questions not with words but with memories. One engineer screamed as images of stars collapsing filled his mind. Another dropped to her knees after seeing a future where Earth burned. But Elena held firm. She asked one thing. What did you see that destroyed you? The remnants stepped aside and revealed the final truth. A crystal, floating, surrounded by strange energy, showed visions of what the Chiral discovered. Beyond the edge of the known universe, there was something watching. Not a being, not a god, but something so vast, so old, it made galaxies look like dust. It was aware of every civilization, every act of progress, and every time a species reached a certain level of power, it erased them, not out of hate, but like pruning a garden. The Chiral had reached that point. They had seen it coming and chose to erase themselves, to hide their knowledge and leave a warning. The crystal pulsed with energy and asked the humans the same question it had asked the Chiral. Now that you know, what will you do? Some wanted to flee, to bury the truth and live in ignorance. But Elena stood tall. We are not the Chiral. We don't run. We survive. The crystal dimmed for a moment, then shone brighter than before. The remnants bowed. Then you are the inheritors. They handed her a sphere, data, technology, knowledge beyond anything Earth had ever dreamed of. But with it came the burden of hiding from the thing beyond the stars. Earth was no longer just a small world. It was now a keeper of a forgotten legacy. As the team left Virex 7, the ruins sealed behind them. The stars seemed a little colder. Elena stared into the blackness of space and whispered to herself, we inherited more than a dead empire. We inherited a warning. Back on Earth, debates exploded. Share the knowledge or protect the world by keeping it secret. But one thing was clear. The galaxy was not empty. The past was not silent, and something was out there, always watching. The humans had been chosen, not because they were the strongest, but because they were the ones still willing to move forward even after knowing the truth. That made them the true heirs of a fallen empire, and possibly the only hope to face what was coming.